A dream of harnessing the sun's energy to power your home, slashed by a letter from your HOA demanding you tear it all down. That's where my journey began. But instead of giving up, I doubled down and turned my yard into a sustainable, off-grid paradise. This is the story of how I defied the rules, embraced creativity, and built a life of self-sufficiency. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this epic comeback. It all started with a spark of excitement. I've been researching solar energy for months, diving deep into how it could slash my energy bills and reduce my carbon footprint. The idea of powering my home with clean, renewable energy felt like a no-brainer. I mean, who wouldn't want to tap into the sun's endless power? I ordered a set of sleek, high-efficiency solar panels, and when they arrived, it was like Christmas morning. I could already imagine my meter spinning backward, my home humming with clean energy, and maybe even a smug little grin as I waved goodbye to those hefty utility bills. The installation day was a dream. The panels gleamed under the sun, each one a symbol of progress, of taking control of my energy future. I stood in my driveway, hands on my hips, feeling like I'd just taken a giant leap towards sustainability. But then the letter arrived. Visual close-up of an official-looking letter with the HOA logo. It was from the HOA, and the tone was anything but friendly. They claimed my solar panels violated their aesthetic guidelines. Apparently, my shiny new panels were an eyesore that disrupted the neighborhood's uniform look. They demanded I remove them within 30 days or face fines. I was gutted. Frustration doesn't even begin to cover it. I poured hours into researching permits, ensuring everything was up to code, and now this? It felt like a punch to the stomach. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at that letter, my mind racing. How could something as forward-thinking as solar panels be banned for the sake of curb appeal? I thought about complying, about tearing down the panels and falling back in line. But something inside me stirred, a stubborn spark that refused to be snuffed out. I wasn't going to let a group of rule enforcers dictate my vision for a better future. I dug into the HOA's rulebook, looking for loopholes. I called friends, scoured forums, and even consulted a lawyer. But the more I fought, the clearer it became the HOA wasn't budging. Their rules were ironclad, and my solar panels were public enemy number one. I felt trapped, like my dream of sustainable living was slipping through my fingers. But then, in the middle of all that frustration, I had a light bulb moment. If I couldn't put solar panels on my roof, what was stopping me from going bigger? What if I could turn my entire yard into a self-sufficient, off-grid masterpiece? That's when everything changed. Anger can be a powerful motivator, but it's fleeting. What kept me going was a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing the HOA's demands as a roadblock, I started to see them as a challenge, a chance to push the boundaries of what sustainable living could look like. I dove headfirst into research, spending late nights poring over articles about off-grid living, permaculture, and renewable energy systems. I watched hours of YouTube tutorials, from rainwater harvesting to composting toilets, and I started to sketch out a vision for my yard that went far beyond a few solar panels. This wasn't just about sticking it to the HOA anymore. It was about proving to myself, and maybe to the world, that I could live sustainably, even within the confines of a suburban neighborhood. I wanted my yard to be a living, breathing example of what's possible when you think outside the box. I started by mapping out my resources. My backyard was a decent size, about a quarter acre, but it was mostly a boring stretch of grass. No character, no purpose. That was about to change. The planning phase was intense. I needed systems that were efficient, affordable, and most importantly, compliant with local laws. I didn't want them breathing down my neck again. I researched ground-mounted solar arrays, which didn't require roof installation and could be tucked away in less visible parts of the yard. I learned about microgrids, battery storage systems, and how to integrate them into a cohesive off-grid setup. I also started exploring other sustainable practices, composting to reduce waste, rainwater harvesting to cut down on water bills, and raised garden beds for growing my own food. Each piece of the puzzle felt like a small victory. I wasn't just planning a yard makeover. I was reclaiming my autonomy. The HOA might have control over my roof, but they couldn't stop me from transforming my yard into a sustainable oasis. This challenge was turning into an opportunity, not just to live greener, but to grow as a person. I was learning skills I'd never thought I'd need, from basic electrical wiring to soil science. Every new discovery fueled my determination, and I couldn't wait to get my hands dirty. The transformation began in earnest on a crisp spring morning. I started with the solar array. Instead of roof panels, I opted for a ground-mounted system, strategically placed in a sunny corner of the yard where it was shielded by a row of native shrubs. The panels were sleek, modern, and powerful enough to generate most of my home's electricity. I paired them with a battery storage system, a set of lithium-ion batteries housed in a weatherproof shed. Watching the system come online for the first time was electrifying. My home was now powered by the sun, and I was officially off the grid. Next came the rainwater harvesting system. I installed a 1,000-gallon cistern that collected runoff from my roof. Visual slow-motion shot of raindrops hitting the cistern, with a gauge showing rising water levels. It was mesmerizing to see how much water I could capture from a single storm. I used it to irrigate my new raised garden beds, which I'd built from reclaimed wood. Those beds became the heart of my oasis. I planted a mix of vegetables, tomatoes, zucchini, kale, and carrots, along with herbs like basil and rosemary. Every time I harvested a meal, I felt a surge of pride. This wasn't just food, it was a statement. Composting was another game changer. I built a 3-bin system from old pallets, turning kitchen scraps and yard waste into rich, fertile soil. It was like alchemy, waste transformed into something that nourished my garden. I also added a small wind turbine for backup power on cloudy days, its blades spinning gracefully in the breeze. The yard started to take on a life of its own, blending practicality with beauty. I added a pergola covered in climbing grapes, a small pond for native fish, and a pollinator garden to attract bees and butterflies. It wasn't just sustainable, it was stunning. Though, of course, wasn't thrilled. They sent a few more letters, nitpicking about unapproved structures. But I'd done my homework. Every element of my yard complied with local zoning laws, and I had the permits to prove it. Visual, you confidently holding up a stack of permits, smiling at the camera. They couldn't touch me. My yard wasn't just a rebellion. It was a masterpiece of self-sufficiency, a living testament to what's possible when you refuse to back down. This project changed me in ways I never expected. It wasn't just about the solar panels or the garden. It was about taking control of my life. Every shovel of dirt, every wire I connected, every seed I planted was a step toward independence. I learned that self-sufficiency isn't just about cutting ties with the grid. It's about trusting yourself to solve problems, to create something meaningful, even when the odds are stacked against you. The HOA's resistance forced me to think creatively, to dig deeper into what I was capable of. I discovered skills I didn't know I had, from carpentry to horticulture. More importantly, I found a sense of empowerment that rippled into every corner of my life. I started questioning other rules, both external and self-imposed. Why should I let someone else dictate how I live? Why should I settle for a system that doesn't align with my values? This project also connected me to my community in a new way. Neighbors started stopping by, curious about the transformation. Some were skeptical at first, but others were inspired. I shared tips, gave away seedlings, and even helped a few friends start their own gardens. My yard became a conversation starter, a way to show people that sustainable living isn't just for off-the-grid hippies, it's for anyone who wants to take charge of their future. I want this story to inspire you too. If you're facing a roadblock, whether it's an HOA, a boss, or even your own doubts, don't let it stop you. Use it as fuel. Challenge the rules that don't make sense. Find a way to create something that reflects who you are and what you believe in. You don't need permission to live a life that's true to you. Today, my yard is more than just a backyard. It's a lifestyle. I'm saving thousands of dollars a year on utilities. My water bill is practically non-existent, thanks to the rainwater system. My grocery bill, because I'm growing half my food. But the real payoff isn't financial, it's the peace of mind. Knowing I'm living in harmony with the planet, that I'm reducing my impact while creating something beautiful, that's what keeps me going. The environmental impact is huge too. My carbon footprint is a fraction of what it used to be. I'm not just consuming resources, I'm giving back to the earth through composting, pollinator gardens, and native plants. It's a cycle of sustainability that feels right, like I'm part of something bigger. I'm not done yet. I'm already planning to expand the solar array, add a graywater recycling system, and maybe even build a tiny greenhouse for year-round growing. This journey has shown me that there's always room to grow, to innovate, to push the boundaries of what's possible. So here's my challenge to you, Comeback Stories community. What's your off-grid paradise? It doesn't have to be a whole yard. It could be a balcony garden, a solar-powered charger, or even a commitment to composting. Start small, but start somewhere. Take one step toward a life that's more sustainable, more independent, more you. And when the world tries to push you back, push harder. Build something extraordinary. That's it for today's story, folks. If you love this journey, hit that like button, subscribe to the Comeback Stories, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next comeback. Drop a comment below. Tell me about your own sustainable projects or how you're defying the odds. Until next time, keep fighting, keep creating, and keep making your comeback. See you in the next one.